What is going on, Wolfpack Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Tuffy Talk, and tonight we are previewing the Pop Tarts Bowl that is taking place on December 28th at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I guess it's 4:45 for Central Standard Time, folks, like our opponents will be thinking about there, but it's going to be a good matchup against Kansas State in Orlando. And I'm just really excited with this matchup, Greg. How are you feeling about it?
I'm excited. Let's go get 10, right?
Right. I mean, big time. As I was talking today, my brother, I was like, the fact that we even have a chance to get 10 wins this season.
Yeah.
I mean, what is that? What do you think about that, Greg?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it on numerous occasions. This was a team that when we did our preseason previews, we had, almost everyone had us at 9 wins. I think Leighton or somebody had us at 10. I can't remember who, but I know you had us at 9 and I had us at 9, and we got there, but we didn't think that was going to be possible.
It's the NC State way, man. We figured out a way to do it, just not the way you thought it would happen.
For sure. Yeah, we like to do things the hard way, I feel.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like the way it's, not to beat a dead horse here, but just the way it happened this season,
right?
The improbability of that, still a chance to do that is pretty special. And there's a lot of other talk we've had about that, and I'll leave that to those previous episodes. But tonight the focus is on the Pop Tarts Bowl, and NC State's got a really good matchup against Kansas State. They're an 8-4 team, really well-rounded team is what it looks like to me, Greg. Kansas State's always been a really respectable program, I would say, as of the last 10, 15 years or so. And I don't think anything has been different for them this past season. What can you tell folks about Kansas State, Greg?
Yeah, it's a team that when they lost, they lost to ranked opponents. And, they beat the opponents that they probably should have, right? We talked about it before he came on, that any ranked opponent they struggled against. But this is a team that took Texas on the road to overtime, losing 33-30. They played a really good schedule. They played Mizzou. They played a ranked Kansas team, Oklahoma State. So, yeah, I think this is an opponent that, look, when you measure your team, we can go to bowl games, and we've feasted on UCFs and lower echelon SEC teams, but this is a really good Power 5 opponent from the Big 12 that I'm excited that this would be a nice feather to put in your cap to cap the end of the season.
Yeah, so let's talk about how they fared a little bit more this season. So we mentioned they've played some good matchups. They lost the games that you expected them to lose. They won the games you expect them to win. I think the exception there may have been the last game they played against Iowa State.
Iowa State, yep.
Yep, they lost at home there. I think it was like 42-35. Yeah, 42-35 Iowa State.
Yep.
I feel like this is a team that just it's been solid, like I said earlier. And I guess going into the Pop Tarts Bowl, or I guess to maybe back up here to recap the season a little bit, like players. So they've been led by Will Howard. Their coach is Coach Kleiman. They have their OC Klein, who has left Kansas State after having a really good offense with them. Gone on to Texas A&M. Will Howard will not be playing in this game. There's a couple other players on the offense and defense that I'll be playing. But, I think for me, one thing when I look at this team, I noted really good offense, good defense.
But that was Will Howard led, though, right? So
Will Howard led defense with the Klein offense. Now, I imagine they won't get too far away from that, but, when you go from your QB1 to your QB2, that is a difference. And I know that the Kansas State, the Wildcats, the fans there, they're really excited about their future with this QB2 and Avery Johnson. What can you tell folks about Avery Johnson, Greg?
Yeah, it's a guy with limited action. Obviously Will Howard was your dude. He did play in the Texas Tech game and ended up with a 5-touchdown effort.
Albeit that's Avery Johnson we're talking about.
Avery Johnson, yeah. He's apparently they nicknamed him Sunshine from Remember the Titans. I guess he has that flow like Sunshine did, but he's one of their most highly touted recruits at the quarterback position ever. They're really excited about him, and he really this is his opportunity to officially take the reins. And like we said, he was 23 of 35. So again, small sample size, very mobile quarterback. And look, it's going to be an interesting matchup, especially with a couple of the opt outs, and we'll probably talk about them. Their leading receiver opted out, and Ben Sanute. So what kind of connection does he have with these receivers? He's probably obviously he's taken the first rep snaps here in the last month in bowl prep, but you already mentioned the OC being gone. So how is that all going to play out for State on the defensive side, right?
Right.
Not a lot of
So,
film, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's not a lot there. I would say my Pop Tart about to fall over. So what I would look at there is, as a whole, it seems that Kansas State is a team that really wants to win and at the line of scrimmage, and they really want to run the ball well.
Yeah.
And we mentioned you one thing I think that just to call out, you said that Avery Johnson had 5 rushing touchdowns against that game against Texas Tech, but he had 0 passing touchdowns in the game. Mm-hmm. So this is a guy who, in a small sample size, he's shown that he's very capable of scoring with his legs. I think to complement him, they have a really good running back, and Giddens.
DJ Giddens
is a guy. I think he's averaging like 5.5 yards a carry this season.
Exactly. Yep.
They had
1,000-yard rusher.
1,000-yard rusher. Yeah. They had a really good tight end fullback player, Ben Sanat, who is going to be sitting out this game. But Kansas State's really had a focus on rushing the ball, I would say.
30 rushing touchdowns on the year to back that point. Right.
I would imagine that's not going to change going into this bowl game.
No, you would think too with a young quarterback, he's probably going to trust his legs more than his eyes and his arm, right? Maybe they're probably going to press upon him. Hey, if it's not there, tuck it and run. Live to play the next down. All of those coach speak terms that you always hear about. And I think, I think this is going to be really more difficult on State, not having a lot of game film to really study. Again, like we already mentioned, the OC is going to be changed. Like how far are they going to deviate? Probably not much. You might have a couple wrinkles here and there, especially with the new quarterback. But you're probably gonna trust your running back. You're probably gonna lean on him. Which if they do, that's a plus for late season NC State, not early season, as we know that we struggled at times early in the season with the good runners.
Yeah. They're. I think another note for Kansas State too is just looking at some stats by them. They are a very good red zone scoring team. I saw a stat somewhere. See if I can pull it back up here. But here it is. They have 48 red zone touchdowns, which is tied for Georgia and second in the country. That's only behind Oregon at 51. Really good scoring team when they get in the red zone. And I know State has had a really good red zone defense. Kansas State has also been really good at third down conversions. State's been a really good third down conversions defense team. I really think the Kansas State offense versus NC State's defense is going to be the matchup to watch.
Yeah, probably. We talked, and we'll flip it to the defensive side. So I don't want to get too far ahead on that aspect. But you kind of talked about, they're pretty balanced. We mentioned they already had 30 rushing touchdowns, but they also threw for 28 touchdowns. So that's a pretty balanced offense. Mm-hmm. And again, we keep harping on it, or at least I do. It's with a different quarterback, and football is a quarterback driven game, if you will. I feel confident, especially with the way this defense plays, but not having a lot of information on this Avery Johnson guy. That's the great unknown for me. Like, what is this guy going to do? Really, he's only had, I think, like 1 or 2 starts on the season. A bowl game. The lights are a little bit brighter, maybe.
Right.
I just don't know. I'm excited though.
Yeah, I'm excited too. So that's kind of the offensive side. What we would note there on those players. The defensive side is one that's, I think, is going to be interesting too. They've got a few players opting out of the bowl game that, I'm curious how State will attack them. They have a few all Big 12 team members, first and second team players. I think that's a defensive lineman, a linebacker, and a DB. But I think the DB is the one that's sitting
Yeah,
out.
Savage. Yeah, it sounds like Savage has opted out or he's transferred. I'm not sure which, but from what I read, he is out. So, if he's your best guy, maybe KC's able to take a little bit of advantage of something there. You did allude to looking at some of the PFF grades that they weren't a particularly good tackling team.
Yep, I did note that. So they're I'll say this. So season total, their lowest three scores would be their lowest one was tackling at a 52.8 grade. They have a few others that are lower. Just to note again, bottom three would be your next lowest would be your pass rushing grade and defense. That's at 65.0, and your passing offense, which is kind of surprising to me, being at a 69.4. Their best grades, however, would be their running game, which is kind of, to me, it comes back to that. Their it looks like their overall, just their average of their scores, because they are a very good, a very good balanced team. But the offense as a whole, the PFF gives like an overall grade. They have a grade for your offense and defense, and then they have like subcategories, and they all list them out together. Their offense is graded higher than their defense. So maybe State can try to exploit that. Maybe they didn't take note of Savage being out. Yeah. But I really think there's not a whole lot of their defense that'll be different. So they may rely heavily on their defense to win this game, to help them win this game, because with a young quarterback, I don't know what his throwing ability will look like in this game. He could be the next, Peyton Manning, but
right.
I think they're going to rely on the defense to help out their offense in this game. Similar how State's going to play. I think it'll be very similar, but to me, there's some weapons that will not be playing on offense, especially with your coordinator not being there.
Yeah,
that'll be a key. I would be very interested to see how that goes with Kansas State in this matchup.
This is a game that may only take an hour and a half to play, right? Because I think both teams are going to run the ball, control clock. I just don't know. I don't know how many passes you're going to see in this game.
Right. So
that's kind of why I think maybe this might be an hour and a half game. You did mention one of their. I want to kind of circle back to their defense. Khalid Duke probably is the guy that you were talking that was all Big 12 player. He had 6 sacks, so that's a guy you're going to want to control on the defensive side of the ball. Their leading tackler is a safety actually, and he only had 60 tackles, and Marquise Siegel, which is ironically only half of what Peyton Wilson had, because I think Peyton ended up with like 135, 138, something like that. So that could play out to what you were talking about earlier with their tackling ability. Maybe guys were getting to the second level, and so you're forcing your safety to make more tackles than they probably would like. Or the safety could just play downhill like a Tanner Engel. Obviously not knowing enough about their team, but I don't know. I'm excited. I guess to your point earlier, their stats don't really blow me away, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they just come across as a solid team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
for
to
sure.
me, the takeaway is they have maybe their most key pieces, particularly on offense, not playing.
Yeah,
right. Because they're really good. Now they have. I know they had like their the conference offensive player, or offensive lineman of the year, is on Kansas State's line. I think it's Beebe is his last name, but I can't remember his first name. And so he's Cooper Beebe, I think maybe. Yeah, Cooper Beebe. Some may say he's the best offensive guard in the country right now.
It sounds like he is playing.
Yeah, so State's, when I think of you don't have your quarterback, you have a young guy, you don't have your OC, you don't have the fullback, Sanat playing. That was a lot of rushing touchdowns. I don't know how much they'll miss a beat, but those are some notable things that I think of that, okay, well, those are positives for State. But but State's defense is playing at such a high level right now that I'm not too concerned about it either way. I think it's going to be a really good matchup for a really tough matchup for both sides to watch, but it doesn't. I don't see that as like a negative.
Yeah. PFF or not PFF. What is that? The ESPN predictor, whatever that stat is. Yeah.
No,
they have them as a 74.7% chance to win the game.
FPI predictor, whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever that is. Yeah,
BPI or whatever it is. I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know their whatever the ESPN analytic thing that they use.
Yeah.
So look, State thrived this year as an underdog, and the last 5 games that they ended up winning, they were underdogs in all those games. So this isn't new territory for State, which I'm here for it. Nothing should change at the end of the season,
Right.
as far as I'm concerned. So I like the role that we're in. It's a bowl game, so you're going to probably see a couple trick plays. I think something like that's going to be, something fun that you'll pull out. Maybe we'll see another, Casey Concepcion touchdown pass or something crazy like that.
Right. Before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flatlands Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout Eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need. Offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flatlands Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flatlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flatlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out.
Well, I will note this too. Yeah. So they have the Kansas State Wildcats, they're holding teams to an average of 21.2 points per game scoring. Right. They're holding teams below their scoring average, and I think there's a few matchups where they had it was like 6. It was I think it was like a few of the matchups they had, maybe half their games were holding teams under their scoring averages. State obviously likes holding around that 24, 25 points per game. I think it's like 24 something.
Yeah, I think we were 24.7, I believe is what it was.
How do you feel about that note there with State's offense? They've been playing a lot more open and free lately, that they're figuring things out. So I feel like that average for State is not indicative of where they have been recently. But, that defense is, pretty solid. They've had to go up against really tough matchups. Again, they had to play Missouri, Oklahoma State, Texas when they were ranked. So, what are your thoughts there,
Kansas State is a team that puts up points. I think their lowest output of the season was, I'm just pulling it up here, 27 points. Is the lowest they scored all year.
Yep,
that's pretty good. Right. I would venture to guess they probably averaged over 30, maybe even 35 points a game. Just looking at quick math in my head. So something's got to give. To your point, you said they were holding teams below their average, and they were giving up about 21 points a game. And like I said, something's got to give. Either I still believe, and I've said it, every single podcast, every single game preview, give me 24 points. If you give me 24 points, I really like State's chances. Now, that being said, I think you're going to need more than 24. But if you give me 24, I like our defense's chance.
Well, let me ask you this then too, because we're talking about Kansas State's players who are sitting out. It's no one's officially said this yet, but let's. What happens if Peyton Wilson decides? He's had a humongous career for NC State. Mm-hmm. If he were to decide to opt out of the game, we all know how much of an impact he has.
Right.
Does that concern you if Peyton Wilson does not play?
Yeah, for sure. Look, he's won multiple national awards. He's unanimous All-American. Mm-hmm. Yeah, without a doubt, he's your team MVP. It's not even questionable.
I guess how big of a drop off do you think there would be? Like, he comes off the field. I can think of a few games. I guess I'm trying to. maybe in some ways my question I'm leading you water because I think I have I'm thinking of the answer.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty notable because when he came
Yeah.
out of some games, I can't remember which matchup it was this year, but
Clemson was the big one where
he
didn't
came
finish.
out
Yeah.
and they just started scoring and he had to get back in the game. Maybe it was Clemson, it was some other one.
No, I don't think Clemson. They didn't score once he left, so I'm not sure which one. I know when the Clemson game, because he came out like I think at the beginning of the fourth quarter, and they ended up shutting them down. Oh well, I think they did get one touchdown. Clemson did. Now that I'm thinking about it, but anyway, yeah, there's a drop off. So who's going to be? If he doesn't play, who's going to play that position? Is it Sean Brown because he's the one that filled in for Clemson? You would think. But it's weird. Like, it's State's MO. They're not going to, if they don't have to, they're not going to release the names of the guys that are opting out. The one that it's kind of interesting for me is CJ Clark. Obviously, he's in the transfer portal and is already committed to Miami. You got Brandon Cleveland there, but like, who's behind Brandon Cleveland
now? Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah. That's a position, when you're running the scheme that we run, that's a real important position.
Right.
So it's not that I'm worried about Brandon Cleveland. He's been a stud. It's the depth behind some of these positions, especially, at safety, because if you're moving Sean Brown down, like, now who backfills that safety position? And we've had a couple transfer guys. So that's the interesting pieces for me that I'm curious as to who lines up in this game.
Yeah, I could see if you move Sean Brown down, which that rhymes. You'd probably be someone like Boykin and Fitzgerald, maybe
probably
in safeties. But I could see Betty, Scott, and Fordham being your starting three linebackers, and you just have Boykin and Brown up at the safety position.
Sure,
there's interesting things there. Well, let me ask you this. What do you think State's strategy should be? We've talked about Kansas State a lot, to stop Kansas State's offense. How do you think NC State should attack the defense?
Yeah, I just think, you do what worked for those last couple of games when, like you said, we've opened up the offense and put over 30 points. Is Brennan Armstrong was very accurate. We kept teams off balance, if you will.
Sure.
We ran the ball effectively. We mixed in passes. We were ahead of the chains. We didn't beat ourselves with turnovers. We didn't, commit a lot of dumb penalties. Those are the things that you're going to have to continue to do in order to, stay ahead of the sticks and stay on schedule. And make it manageable. This is a team that Brennan can bail you out with his legs, but that's not something that you want to be in long term in these games. You don't want to have 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 7s, 3rd and 12s. If we can stay ahead of where we need to be, that really opens up the playbook and keeps the defense, guessing.
Yeah, I think people joke with State about how they've been predictable, where you're basically, I know I went to the Virginia Tech game, like, it's two guys. It's Brennan Armstrong and Casey Concepcion. It's going to be those two guys, and we can't stop them. They're predictable in that way. But I also think it's how they're particularly.
It's the window dressing, right? It's all the movement, and so you're just not, you're running the same plays, but you're just doing it from different formations,
angles, formations, and all that. Yeah. How you get the ball to KC is different, and what he does with the ball is different. He might be passing it, he might be running it, he might be receiving the ball. I don't know. I feel like you got to stay unpredictable, at least in that regard too. And I think State's found some mojo. I think one key piece there for State offensively is what can Dakari Collins do for you?
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Yeah,
because he came on late, and Kansas State will have film on Collins and the rest of the offense that they'll have that, but can he kind of build on that a little bit further? Is going to be interesting to me. And there's not going to be a lot of depth. A lot of guys that transferred out. You'll have Gray, you'll have Coit, you'll have a couple other guys there, but
you'll have Lassane.
Yeah. So what can you do there? I am most interested, I think, to see. I think can they just continue? I don't know. I'm just curious to see if they can repeat this against another solid team because, that I mean, they did it against. I didn't say Carolina's defense was that good.
No.
Virginia Tech's defense was pretty good, and they made Virginia Tech look kind of silly.
Wig was. The ones for me were Clemson and Miami. I mean, those were two of the the better defense. Let me throw this at you since you've been throwing some questions at me. What are you looking for? What are you expecting from Brennan Armstrong in his last game? I would also say a healthier Brennan Armstrong, right? Because in that Carolina game, he was limited in some of the things that he was able to do. So maybe with this time off, maybe he can give you a little bit more than he has.
Well, I'm sure you'll see State try to attack the side of the field wherever Savage isn't now. Wherever the backup is, I'm sure you'll see them do that. Take shots. Maybe I imagine if they get Collins and this second string DB, they'll try that matchup a few times. For Brennan, which that would imply some taking shots downfield with Brennan. Sure. I mean, I wouldn't want him to do anything different than what he has been doing. I just want him to. I want to see him continue with his bread and butter and stay in the flow of the offense. Don't try to be Superman,
right?
And no need to. Keep doing it. I mean, keep doing what you've been doing the last half of the season. I mean, I just don't want. I don't want to see. I'm not looking for Brennan to do anything. Just blow you away. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily need him to be a game winner. I need him to be to just kind of manage it a little bit. But he's going to have to. He's going to have to kind of just do what he's been doing. That's what I want to see. I want to see Casey continue. But I think I'm most curious to see, besides the other guys, can Collins continue to step up? Can a guy like Lassane, because Lassane's been a little bit inconsistent in this season.
Yeah, but he's picked it up the last couple of games. Yeah, but
he's picked it up, right?
Yeah.
So is he going to have a down game? I hope not. It's the last game of State. I would think it wouldn't be. Other guys like Gray has had some moments. Coy hasn't played a lot on offense as much as he is the punt return guy. But I think it's just bread and butter for Armstrong to me. It's what I want to see.
Yeah, with we were kind of maybe stay here with the wide receivers and stuff. With the limited receivers that you have, this could be a game where you see Juice Farine do something.
Yeah, maybe
he gets a couple targets. And Trent Penix, this is his last game. He'll be going to the NFL draft after this, so maybe he's a guy that shows out.
And I think both teams are going to kind of be playing at this point. Like, what do you have to lose? Like, right? So State's going to have playing for 10 wins.
Yep.
Do everything you can. Be as creative as you want to be. You can be. Kansas State, you don't have your first string quarterback. You don't have your OC. What do you have to lose at this point? I mean, to me, maybe with them, it is the thing of thinking, okay, it's a young quarterback. We're going to just kind of maybe build for the next season with him in this game. But I would think both teams be playing somewhat. What do you have to lose? It's the last game of the season. Let's go get a Let's go get a win.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think you're going to I think you're going to see the playbooks open up. Like you said, it counts, but it doesn't count. So go. And here's the thing: these bowl games are rewards, right? So you want to go out and literally leave it on the field. This is the last game you're going to play for 8 months, and at least meaningful game anyway. But I don't know. The one thing we haven't really talked about is, the third phase of the game is special teams.
Sure.
And you mentioned the guy from Kansas State that, do you remember the name that we were looking at before we got on?
I do not.
But he sounded pretty dangerous.
You're talking about the I know you're talking about. That would be Phillip Brooks. Mm-hmm. He's the only active player in FBS to have 1,000 receiving yards, 100 rushing yards, 800 kickoff return yards, and 700 punt return yards in his career. This is a guy who I don't know if he is a returner or not, but he is another name to watch out for as a special teams guy. He just sounds like a threat, a weapon for them. So
yeah. Just again, we're just trying to throw out some people to.
And I think you noted, Greg, about their kicker. He's had some, a solid kicker, but not anything special. Maybe
52 and 53 on his extra points. He was it's Chris Trenton or Trenton. He's 11 of 14 on field goals, but the one big one there is he's only 4 of 6 from 20 to 29 yards. So yeah. But yeah, I guess the only other thing before we get into predictions is, it's going to be Orlando, Florida. So it's going to be, nice weather so far. I think a high of about 65, 67 degrees, low chance of rain as of right now, but it's Florida. So anything's possible with that. Here's one thing we haven't talked about. State needs a bowl win. Like, not only to get to 10 wins, but like we've struggled the last bowl games. We haven't won a bowl game since the Sun Bowl when we beat Arizona State, and I believe that was 2017.
Yeah.
So we've got a little bit of a losing streak. The other miscellaneous stat that we'll throw out there: this is the first time ever that NC State and Kansas State's ever met in football.
So I think it'd be a fun matchup. They seem like pretty similar programs to me, and I think State's had a little bit more success in the decades you look through. Kansas State had a program that just kind of came
Kansas State was at Sugar Bowl last year.
Right. I'm talking about like in the long view of history.
Okay, gotcha.
Like Kansas State's Kansas State has had more success in the last 20 years, 30 years or so. State's had but like they have had they're both similar programs, hard, blue collar kind of programs. They're both state colleges. I think it's going to be a very fun matchup. These are the kind of teams I feel like State. I would like to see them play more often. If they can.
It's a fan base we don't really know a lot about, right? To that point, like you're kind of getting at. It's a team that it's consistent. They've got a good program, good culture, but it's just not one that would quote unquote jump off the page.
Right.
But
I look forward to it. I think they're a good program, and I know they've had like players like Deuce Vaughn last year was a really fun, exciting player. But they've got some really good talent. Will Howard, I really look forward to seeing what he does moving forward. But yeah, I think Greg so going into predictions, they have the betting line. Vegas says it's about 47.5 point prediction with about Kansas State favored by 2.5 points. So that field goal that we're talking about, the kicker there, basically saying they think it's something like around, I don't know how this would happen, but something like a 26, 23, 25, 22 score. What do you think about that, considering everything we talked about? You think that's a fairly accurate? You think Kansas State gets the win? What do you think?
So
State
obviously we don't know.
NC State gets the win?
Yeah, I think State's going to win. For me, the score prediction's kind of dependent on who, does this line move, right? If we get wind of official opt-outs either on other sides, does that move the line? Obviously we're recording this on the 21st, so exactly a week before the bowl game. I think it's going to be over. I think you said 47. Is that what you said?
47.5 is what Vegas has it at.
Yeah, I think it's going to be over. I think just because of the way State's been playing as of late, and then some of the struggles that we talked about on their defense. If Peyton plays, that number may drop down because he's just a big X factor. But I like State. I like State to win 34-27.
Yeah, I was going to say a 35-24 NC State score. I could see that being something very doable, or 34-24 or something like that.
Yeah, sure.
Kansas State's going to score. I think
both teams are going to score. Yeah,
Giddens is going to be a really good running back. We mentioned Phillip Brooks earlier. They've got one of the best offensive linemen in the country, and they always, Kansas. I imagine Kansas just often gets the implication they've always had pretty good linemen there. I'm feeling like, because I think maybe it's just surface level thinking maybe a little bit, but I do see not having the OC there, not having your starting quarterback, not having one of your biggest offensive weapons, and so not playing. State does not have Peyton Wilson, or I don't know. I don't know anything. I'm just saying
he was practicing the other day, right?
I'm saying that, and I guess I am saying that assuming he won't play.
Yeah.
If he plays, I feel really, really good about State's chances. If he doesn't play, I'm gonna, I don't know.
It drops down, but I still think we win.
I still think State wins, even if he doesn't play. I think it becomes something more like a 34-30 kind of score. But yeah, I like State in this game, and I like it because I know that they don't have their OC and their quarterback there. Now, I'm not saying Avery Johnson is he a bad quarterback? I'm not saying
he's a freshman though. You don't know,
but it's so early for him. And hey, if he wins, gonna win. Props to him. But I think that what's interesting is he had his one, his big game of the season was against Texas Tech. Yeah. It was 5 rushing touchdowns, 0 passing touchdowns. That's interesting to me. It doesn't make me. I don't know what to think about that as if I'm a Kansas State fan, other than just we got a really good dual threat guy. But I feel good about State in this game right now, especially when State, I feel like, is playing for more in this game than Kansas State is.
Right.
And so I like NC State. I like NC State in that situation. So, that's my prediction. I'm going to say 35-24 NC State.
Okay.
And you said what, Greg?
I went with 34-27.
34-27 NC State.
Is 34 an easy number to get to? Is that an easy number to get to? No, I'm trying to. I don't like 35. I feel like we got to get a field goal in there somewhere.
Yeah, that's why I said 34-24, 35-24. But I feel like that's probably where
31.
We're at.
I'm okay. Here, official 31-27. That's my number. 31-27.
All right, 35-24 is my prediction. NC State, and Greg's got 31-27 NC State. Really exciting game for the bowl matchup we have against Kansas State Wildcats. Again, December 28th. That is Thursday evening. And that is going to be at 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I can't. Also, as a side note, we didn't mention this. I'm looking forward to this mascot, man.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's crazy.
Edible mascot. Like, I'm really curious. I mean, does he have the body there, and then the corner of him is edible? How do they attach that?
This is the greatest trade secret right now because no one knows anything. Here's one last point I want to bring out too is. How much maybe of a home field advantage we'll have, right? Like how are we going to travel, to Orlando? I think the destination definitely helps both teams. Kansas State fans probably want to get out of Kansas in December and go to a warmer place.
Right.
I
think I've heard them say they've never played in this bowl game, or they've never played in Florida like this before, not in a very long time at least. So
yeah, we've played in Orlando a few times, a few iterations of this bowl, but so I'm curious to see how well the stadium is filled. So I'm curiously and anxiously awaiting how that's going to be. But I know a lot of guys and families that are going to this game, so I think State will be well represented.
Right, it'll be a fun matchup. I'll be home watching it with my family, and you will be there, Greg. We got a few members of Tuffy Talk that'll be there. Greg, Mackenzie, and Michael.
Yeah, Michael is going.
Michael, yep. So half the crew there, basically. Half the crew there. Yep. So be sure if you're there to let us know. We'll put a whole lot of content out the day of the game.
Tag us in many posts. And
Yep. It'll be awesome. We will definitely try to continue to talk about this game throughout the rest of this week and in the game day itself. But we guys hope you have a great Christmas. And just celebrating that with your families, just a special time of the year. I'm really thankful for what Christmas is all about and what it means to me, and just thankful for just also on the side, thankful for friends like we have here at Tuffy Talk and you guys. So hope you have a great rest of your week, guys. Merry Christmas. Looking forward to this bowl matchup against Kansas State, and go Pack.